Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. We're Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We host events throughout the Northwest in Eugene, Salem, and Portland, Oregon, and also in the Redmond, Bellevue area of Seattle. We're also online now as well, so you can meet us from wherever you are. We interview our readers, healers, and vendors, so you get a chance to know who we are before you meet us at an event. I'm here today interviewing Aunia Kahn. Aunia, it's great to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Sweet. Well, tell us a little bit about what do you do? What do you share at our events?
So I'm a tarot reader. I've been reading tarot for about 17 years professionally. And I'm also a tarot designer. So I create decks as an illustrator, my own decks. So I've illustrated a full 78 tarot deck, a couple oracle decks. I've also curated some other tarot and oracle decks. And we have a puppy here. Come here, say hi. A couple oracle decks as a curatorial project with other artists, and then I have worked with other authors where I've illustrated for their decks. So I do that. So I read cards, and then I also provide cool things. Okay, done.
How great! And I imagine you clearly love artwork. Everything I've seen in your house, like, this is beautiful.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, so do you have some of your cards? You could show us your cards.
I do, actually. So the first deck that I'll show you is the 78 card tarot deck based on Waite. It's black and white with a hint of color, and it is
you said based on Waite? Could you say more of what?
Based on Waite. So Waite Smith is basically, the foundation of tarot. So we have European, and then we have it shifted with Waite. So European, the style was more, there wasn't figurative in it. So the first decks looked more like playing card decks, right? They had, like for, let's say, the Six of Wands, they had 6 wands instead of, the 6 of Wands. Now we have a person riding on a horse, showing victory. So Waite Smith was the first group of people that came together and made a tarot deck that was based in more human iconography, form rather than just symbolism. So it's kind of the standard. When people create decks, they often want to do more figurative work, right? It's more creative than taking, 6 wands, and putting them, across or doing that. So this is based on that system.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for explaining. I didn't know that. Okay, great.
So here's the Death card, the 2 of Swords.
Oh, wow.
And then we have the Chariot. Then we have Strength.
I'm just curious if you can take us into the creation process a little bit too. They're so detailed. How big are they when you paint them? Or when you draw them?
So I was doing them about, so they're like 2 by 3 or 2, I forget the exact dimensions for small. So at the widest, about 11 inches. So not super, super
big. Not that big. Wow, yeah, they're pretty. They're beautiful.
Yeah. And then one of my curatorial decks is called the Lowbrow Tarot Project. So this came with a tarot deck, but it was only the major cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also came with a collector's art book. And there's beautiful artwork done by, 21, 22 pop surrealist artists that are really well known throughout the genre, and just beautiful, beautiful art. I mean, just blown away by the work that was put into these cards. And it was nice because they were all such different, they took different takes. You got to see not just, one artist doing a take on a deck. Not that that's great, but, and I felt like they went well together.
So how does this work with curating something like this so that all these different diverse perspectives are held together?
So basically what I did is I reached out and I just said, hey, this is the project that I want to do. I want you guys, whatever card you choose. I had each of the people that submitted to be a part of it, because we did it as kind of a submission thing. So like, you submit, and then, what are your top 3 cards you want? And then they were juried in. So we had hundreds of submissions that came in, which was amazing. And then once they were chosen, right, then we gave directions like, you have to go look up Rider-Waite Smith, look up your card, do the research. Because to me, tarot is very spiritual, and yes, it's creative and all of that, but there's so much depth to it. We're not just like making a pretty picture, right? It's got to have symbolism. It's got to have depth. And that's what I wanted from my artists. I wanted them to take a journey with the tarot.
So these are people that haven't been making tarot cards. They're people that are artists, and then you pulled them into this medium.
Oh. Yeah, so they had no really, I mean, I'm sure maybe some of them had some, arbitrary knowledge, but not a lot. And then also with the art book that went with it, we did a collector's art book that had their tarot card, right? But also showing some of their other work, because both of the works were very different. And then they wrote about their experience with creating the card. So that was super exciting. And then we went ahead and did that again the following year. I didn't create a deck, or a couple years later, I didn't create a deck with it, just an art book. And then, and then recently, so the Witch's Oracle, this is the second edition. There was a first edition that came out, was it 2013? I can't think of the year. It wasn't, super long ago, but long enough. And it was so loved that they went ahead. So this is done by Red Feather, which, if people don't know, Schiffer Publishing did my original deck and the other parts of it. And they then ended up with an imprint called Red Feather that directly does mostly metaphysical, esoteric, that kind of stuff. So the original Witch's Oracle, which was written by Marla Brooks, she wrote the oracle, she did all the, the card descriptions, and then she said, hey, I'm looking for an illustrator. And so they connected me with her, and I illustrated the first deck. And then since it was so well received, we went ahead and did almost like an anniversary edition. We went ahead and we changed a couple cards out. And then also we had Nicholas, keep wanting to call him by a different name. I want to say it's Pearson, and I am right. Nicholas Pearson. Okay. So Nicholas Pearson came in with gemstones and crystals and incantations. So not only, are they provided with this deck, they have, the written information about each one, but then also, crystal information by another contributor. So now 3 of us have been a part of this project.
Wow. So are different crystals like in the cards, or how do the crystals integrated in the...
So basically, for each card, a crystal is associated with it.
Okay,
so for example, if we had the crystal ball, the crystal choice would have been a quartz, because most crystal balls are made of quartz. And then it would say, kind of what it was about, and then an incantation. So guide me back into the past when visions weren't so overcast. I need to see all that was in order to clear up the fuzz. So it's kind of poetic. And it's just such a nice contribution. So both decks are different, so people can own both.
Can you show us more of the cards? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, sweet.
Amazing. They're shiny and like flocked looking, like old wallpaper.
Wow. Ooh. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so it was a super fun project. I've really enjoyed working with Marla, on it. It was really great. And then there was the Oracle deck that I created, which is called Inspirations for Survivors.
Tip it a little bit more to the left, a little bit. Just hold it up again. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it has a plastic thing on it. I thought I got it off earlier, but I did not do it. Now you'll be able to see it.
Okay, great. So say a little bit more about the name and the theme, Survivors.
So Inspiration for Survivors was an oracle deck created with the idea that we are all survivors. So, everybody. If we get through a day at work, we've survived. If we got through a day not killing our kids, we've survived. Yes, there's more extreme survivors, right? People who have survived cancers or child abuse. But in essence, every day we're dealing with struggles. We're all surviving, we're getting through, and we're trying to thrive. So the idea behind this deck was, we're all survivors, and they have, really wonderful, different sayings. So, I'm having a rough day. I'm going to go ahead and pull a card, and it says, open your heart to feel love. And so this card, you know, says that. And in the book, there's there's written information about each card. And it's just, you know, it's supposed to help. And from what I've heard, because this came out quite some time ago, I've heard that a lot of actually different therapists are using this with people like rape survivors and other people that might not be able to verbally do processing, that this has been a different way to work through trauma. So it's been a really, really cool endeavor for sure.
That's great. I'm all tingly, my arms. When you share that. I have my own historic trauma too, and the process of working through that and working with other people. So yeah, great to have other modalities.
Big deal. And I think tarot and oracle in their own is, I mean, truly, I often believe it is rooted in us trying to work through things, right? Like our traumas and, you know, our shadow selves and everything, you know, that's why they're there as a tool.
Great.
So,
well, so when you do readings at a fair, so I just have a little bit of an experience of making my own art, and it's sort of I'm very selective of how much I'll engage anything else in that medium by other people. So I'm wondering, do you do readings only with your decks? Do you use other decks? Like, how does that work?
I'm going to peek at what my dog's eating right now.
Sure.
Richard.
Hold on a second.
Here, Richard.
Oh my gosh. What did he find?
He found a piece of broccoli.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, your dog eats vegetables.
And he loves it. Look at him. He's losing it. Come here. Did you want the broccoli? Come here. Oh, I definitely want broccoli.
Well, this is a big lesson, how to get dogs to like vegetables. Okay. I guess they eat some vegetables mixed in with their food, but yeah, I've never had a dog like broccoli.
Yeah, there's no reason why he should have been chewing on anything. I'm like, what do you eat? He's like chomping down, and I'm thinking, like, what did he get into?
Well, great. So let's see. Let's go back. So I was asking you, yeah. So at an event, do you only read with your cards? Do you read with other people's cards? What decks do you choose?
That's a great question. So for me, I don't ever read with my own decks. I'm too close to them. And the whole reason why I got into designing them was because I wanted to get a deeper understanding of tarot by literally walking through and like being a part of that, right? Like curating this whole deck with myself. I am the subject in a lot of it in my own 78 card tarot deck, the Silver Arrow Tarot. I did it's almost all me, except for I had one male counterpart that did some of the more male energy, but I did all the photographs and everything. So it's very hard for me to want to read with a deck where I'm like, that's my face, you know, like that's my person.
Right. So it's very autobiographical and so personal, and so not as easy to be in clarity.
But I can't read like that, or even the other curatorial projects. I think there's just so much attached to it that for me, my favorite deck is the Golden Universal, which is amazing. Can I pause? Could you go get any of the other decks that you read with? I'd love to see those too. Absolutely. Okay.
All right. So what are those other decks?
So I absolutely love the Golden Universal. I like shiny things. I don't know if my house kind of says that, but I like things that are shiny. And the Golden Universal, it's just beautiful. You know, it does stick with mostly, you know, the Rider Waite Smith iconography and symbolism, and you know the way that it goes. There's some deviation in it, but not a lot. And it's just so shiny and pretty.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow.
I love it.
Great.
And then the other deck that I read with is the Golden. It's funny, they're both called Golden. This one is not shiny. And it's by Kat Black, which she was the first, one of the first digital collage artists in tarot. And she did this all on the computer, which, I mean, she took mostly all Renaissance-based art. And you can't really tell that it's collage. You know, sometimes you can really tell when something's collage because, you know, all the pieces are just so different. And it's like, she's created these works that look, I mean, they just look like that's what they were.
So the references pulled from different artworks of the
like
period. And
yep, like, so that's a piece, this is a piece, she's a piece, this background's a piece. And the coolest thing about this deck is not only is it just beautiful and really good in your hands and good quality cardstock, is that in her, which I don't have it with me, but in her reference book, every card she references every piece for wherever it came from. And it's like, it's so scholarly, it like appeals to me. I'm like, yes, you know, she did her homework. She didn't just create the work, you know, she did the study. And that's why I have so much, because it's analog, right? Like you have this analog study of like the pieces, right? We're going to do that in that way. But then this is so digital and so like forward thinking as opposed to the other. So it's a really nice thing. So this is the other deck I read from. I don't know, it's beautiful. It's a good deck.
Sweet. Great. And do people come to you with all kinds of questions, or you have particular specialties? What do you?
You know, I feel like what I've noticed, I always seem to be working with a lot of people in transition. And it's, I mean, not that people don't come to readers for that. I mean, that's just like common sense, right? But it always seems to be kind of a big transition, things that are really shifting. Here's my other dog because they both need to have airtime. Say hello. Say hello. My name's Ren. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's just so many different questions, but it seems to be like heavy transitions. I often see a lot of tears. Mm-hmm. So, but it always seems to end in a really good manner for me. So that's kind of what I think the specialty is. I have a background in psychology. I wanted to be a therapist, right? And my life didn't go in that direction. So tarot in a way is a different way to be of service to people, right? Like you're not a therapist, but you're there to walk next to them on a journey, right? They're going to tell you, you're going to work with them. And the cool thing is I'm also an artist, right? So not only am I taking therapy, but then now I'm taking something like these beautiful cards that are designed by other people and using those pictures to walk people through where they need to be walked through. And then using, you know, your sense of, you know, intuition. Because as a reader, I'm not completely woo-woo. You know, I want to see facts. When I got into tarot and astrology, I just didn't believe in it. I watched it, I saw it, I used it, I tested it. And as things continued, my hypothesis, you know, would continue to become, you know, fact-based things. Then I was like, this is where I need to be. So for me, I kind of live in two worlds, almost like psychology, art, and then just kind of being a guide. I'm really just there as a conduit to help somebody else do the work that they're going to do with or without me anyway, right?
Yep. It's great. It's great. By the way, I don't know if you know, I was a scientist too. So I get the holding, different worlds.
Yeah.
Well, good. Your artwork is so beautiful. I personally don't feel any regret that you didn't go the path of therapy. It's so clear that you're doing your gift.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. It means a lot.
If people want to learn more about you online, where do they go?
They can visit me at AuniaKahn.com. I also am on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. And then if people are interested in more of my design side of the world, more professional design, it's auxiliumhouse.com. I have a podcast called Think and Destroy that's going to be launching in November. And I'm also going to be hosting the first ever Oregon Tarot Festival here next year at the in Eugene at the Lane Event Center.
Great.
So,
great. Yeah. Sweet. And could you spell your name? Although it's on the screen, absolutely. I think people will be able to see it. It's an unusual spelling.
It's Aunia, and the last name is Kahn.
So people can find you there.com on the web. Great.
Absolutely.
Very exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been lovely chatting. Educational, beautiful. And for those of you listening and watching, you can learn more about us online at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. Take care.
Yes, and come visit me. I'm going to be there, so come see me.
Thank you.
Thank you.